know what you're about to listen to? The Coolville Urbanism Podcast. I'm your host, Mikael Colville-Andersen. I spend a lot of time thinking about the intricacies of urban life through millennia and the complexity of urban experiences. There is the macro level of urbanism, the big picture, as it were, with all the large building blocks that need to be assembled to create cities and human habitats. But what has always fascinated me the most is the details. The finely crafted, elegantly designed moving parts, and the humans who make them work, keep them polished, cherish them. I can geek out and take photos of new drainage solutions along a curb that are designed to tackle the whims of climate change, or interesting developments in traffic light signalization at intersections in cities around the world, and so on. At the end of the day, every single day, it is, however, the humans that populate our cities that fascinate me the most. Direct observation of my fellow urban citizens and the inevitable thinking and analyzing of their behavior occupies countless rooms in my head. But for all the different angles and aspects of urban life, there is one that I never hear much about, even though it is such an integral part of the human experience. I've been wanting to explore it for many years. If you've been following this Life-Sized City podcast and the guests I've interviewed, you won't be surprised that I have enlisted the help of my dear friend and brilliant colleague, Bianca Hermansen, to assist me in my exploration of this topic. I visited her recently in Barcelona, and as always, our time together is a whirlwind of talking and doing. We should have recorded this podcast either outdoors or in her apartment, but we kept getting distracted by a project we're working on and all the cool stuff we did together in the city. So the only window of time we had was on the last day, on a drive to the mountains. An hour and a half in a car on a motorway.
Oh, are we recording now? I hope you didn't get that.
No, morning.
Do you need me to move my legs?
You can imagine you're in the car with us, listening to our conversation as you stare out the window at the Catalonia landscape on a sunny winter's day. Hi, Bianca.
Hello.
Here we are again.
Yeah.
It's like we need a whole new podcast series just for the stuff that we talk about, man.
The weird stuff we talk about.
So we've been in weird places. We were in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Then we met in Paris.
Yeah.
Now we're in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Where we've been working on a book proposal that we have.
Yep.
That we're calling Unfuck Your City, or How to Unfuck Your City.
A guide for how to survive the end of the urban world as we know it.
The collapses.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm working on the structure of the book. Now we're in a car.
We're in a
It's
car.
weird, man. You and me, we're in a car.
First time ever.
Have we've never been in a car together before?
No. Because we don't do cars, remember?
Yeah. And I said when I got in that this is going to blow up one of my spreadsheets about how many hours a year or minutes a year I spend in a car. So this is going to be more than 3 hours today. We're going into the mountains of Catalonia near Girona, where you and Gonzalo bought Mesilla.
A Mesilla we bought. Yeah.
What's a Mesilla?
A Mesilla is a Catalan, an old Catalan farm structure that comes with a piece of land. And in this case, the land is the important part because we want to start a carbon bank. Not necessarily to create like carbon offset and whatnot, but literally just to help unfuck the planet. So we bought 60 acres and we are gonna preserve that and keep foresting that, so keep growing more forest so we can do our little part in trying to save the planet.
Because we talked about that in one of the other episodes about carbon, stays in wood.
Exactly.
Wood is good.
Wood is good, and even more so, it stays in the soil.
And the soil.
That's where the real bank is. The carbon bank is that vault underneath the trees. An awesome vault.
So it's a beautiful sunny Sunday. We're driving into the heartland of Catalonia to see your place. And
it's kind of ironic. We're driving there.
It is, yeah.
We're trying to save the planet and have to fucking drive there.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But that's not why we're here.
No.
Well, that's why we're here, obviously. But
right.
That's not why we have the microphones on.
No.
Because I've been thinking about one quirky, intellectually, maybe interesting angle of urbanism for many years. And yeah.
Can I just interrupt you? I just want to tell the listeners, we are not driving the car. We are not doing a podcast and driving the car.
Good point, yeah.
I just want a disclaimer if anybody out there is getting nervous now.
Oh, dude, when I see people like posting photos on Instagram from a car, I'm going, were you driving when you took that?
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on traffic safety.
So, just a disclaimer. Sorry, back to you.
No, very good point. There's one book I read by Tom Vanderbilt in New York called How We Drive and What It Says About Us. After reading that book, I've never been more scared about driving.
Right.
I'm not scared right now, but I'm super aware.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
So good point, yep. We have people to drive for us.
Yes.
Hi, Gonzalo.
Hi, Gonzalo.
Okay, so this quirky little angle of urbanism, I've never really heard anybody talk about it. I've been thinking a lot about it for years. I've never really known what to do with it. Sort of one of those little ideas in your head that pops up and you process it a bit and then you put it back in the cupboard.
Because you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and you're not complete in your thinking about it. There's not enough for an article or whatever. But then I said, dude, Bianca, let's do a new one and let's tackle this topic.
Yeah, the untackleable topic.
Yeah. And so the title I've had in my head for years is The Erotic City.
Yes.
How does urbanism relate to erotica? Now.
And then again, for the listeners, whenever Michael has an idea that he doesn't know what to do with, he calls me because I'm literally game for anything. And he's like, we'll figure it out. You just have to show up. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Absolutely.
But it's true. We always figure it out, though.
And when producing media, like a podcast, I have structure. I know kind of where I want to go with it, whether I'm interviewing you or somebody else. You know, I have questions, maybe some written down, a lot of them in my head. The conversation leads me to new questions, whatever. Yeah. That structure coming from media is important to me. I have none of that today. I'm structureless. I'm a spineless jellyfish in the ocean of podcasts.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's a great starting point.
It can't go bad. It's because it's a weird topic in a way. And I mentioned it, well, you knew we were going to do this.
Yeah.
And then the other night, we're sitting at a small, intimate cocktail bar, you, me, and Gonzalo, and I said, hey, we're sitting here, let's talk about what we're going to talk about, for God's sakes. Let's try and get like some basic ideas on the drawing board. And so I have a piece of paper from the till of the cocktail bar. They gave me a pen, and I started hammering out some good old school handwritten notes.
Yeah.
So this is our script, our vague cocktail-induced
exactly
structure for this podcast. So
whiskey-stained piece of paper.
It probably is. I think there was some caipirinha that spilled on it at some point, which makes it even more awesome.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes.
The Erotic City. When I first said, let's talk about the Erotic City, and I've mentioned it to some other people before.
Yeah.
The reaction is always like, okay, that's really weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, urbanists, intelligent friends and everything. And even you kind of giggled, and Gonzalo was going, oh, God, what are these people doing?
Yeah.
And your first thing that you said was, I mean, does it need to be erotic? Not because we're shy of that, you and me, of all people. No. But you kind of went, maybe it's like something like the sensual city.
Right.
And I went, hey, I'm open to anything, right? I don't know if, how much sexy time we're going to get into here, but the sensual city. And I thought this morning while waiting for you guys, hey, maybe the intimate city.
Yeah, I like that.
Because we were walking home from another cocktail bar last night.
Another cocktail bar, another night out.
And Gonzalo says, hey, guys, this street name, this is in Catalan, the Kissing Street.
Yeah.
And it is this narrow little ancient street in the Gothic heart of Barcelona. Yeah. And you're going, oh, I could totally kiss people there.
Exactly. It was built for it. It just looks like a kissing street, doesn't it?
And who kissed in that street
Yeah,
so much that they had to give it the name the Kissing Street, right?
It's amazing.
So that is the perfect little send-off for starting this podcast about the intimate city, the erotic city, the sensual city.
Yeah.
Now,
before we get into, because I see you looking at the notes.
Yeah.
I have to make another disclaimer. I feel like I'm the freaking disclaimer agency here,
God,
but I have to make another disclaimer, and that is obviously that when we're talking about the erotic city, the sensual city, we are talking about adults. It's consensual. We're not talking about the rape capital of the world, Delhi or whatnot. Like, we are talking about places that are safe regardless of age, race, gender, sexual orientation, right? I just want to get that out there because I don't want people to comment on this being like, hey, but what about blah, blah. That is not the conversation we're having today.
No.
Right? We can do that podcast, but that's a different podcast. So let's just close that part down right now. This is a safe space, and we're exploring that safe space.
We're exploring the intimacy, the erotic aspects of humans living in cities together for 7,000 years.
Exactly.
Some of them horny,
Yeah.
some of them wanting to fall in love, some of them wanting to kiss that guy, that girl in that back alley on the kissing street in Barcelona or wherever. Just when we're living together in cities in close proximity for millennia, there is erotica, there is intimacy, there is sensuality.
Yeah.
We're looking for partners, looking to get lucky. All of that aspect of living together.
We're humans.
We're
it's
humans.
part of human nature.
We look at each other, we're attracted to each other,
And cities are our habitat. So as a species, that's where we live out all of that, those hopes and dreams and wants and motivations and passions and desires.
if we were water buffalo, it would be the watering hole in the savannah, and you're drinking your water going, hey, that water buffalo, he's pretty hot. I maybe want to mate with that.
Sailor.
Hello, sailor. So we're just animals who have sexual, erotic, sensual, intimate needs.
Emotional needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, are we done with the damn disclaimers?
Yes, okay, oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Stop.
all right. But no, it's a good point. It's a good point. All right.
Okay.
The first topic,
Yeah.
well, it's not even a topic, it's rough notes written at a cocktail bar, so I don't know what it is.
No.
The first thing I have here is the sound of intimacy. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Private moments made public because of the urban fabric.
Yes.
And then I also have the sounds of people fucking.
Yes.
So let's just start right there.
Let's start.
Freak out half the audience who are now leaving the podcast, and other
It's
people
a thing.
getting a cup of coffee going, this is going to be good. I don't know what you're doing right now. But yeah, come on, man. A city is nothing but private moments made public. And I just thought of this morning. The popularity of Instagrams like Overheard in LA,
Yeah.
Overheard in New York, London, Copenhagen.
Yeah.
All we're doing is publishing intimate
Private
moments that we overheard about a couple breaking up or going to go and have sex or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's a perfect modern angle to the intimate space that we're all taking part of.
Exactly.
But yeah, the sound of people fucking.
Yeah.
Right, let's just go there. Because like in a city like Barcelona, where I've spent so much time in the summer, all the windows are open, and it's a sultry evening, and on a narrow street in a densely populated neighborhood. Wait, what? Oh, was that? Oh, somebody's having sex. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I think, fair enough, some humans will go, ew, I don't want to hear that.
Right.
But when you live in a densely populated city, it's kind of part of the game.
It's part of it.
And I find it personally, I find it erotic.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sitting there reading a book about, the history of shoes. I don't know why I said that. I've never read that book. And, on a quiet evening with a glass of wine, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait, somebody's having sex.
Yeah.
Somebody is enjoying physical intimacy, and I can't see them. And
You
maybe
don't know who
you
they
don't know.
are.
Maybe you'll go out on the balcony and can I see them?
Yeah,
Like, come on, this is human nature, right?
No, but it is.
Some people will do that. And so there's that. There's this if it's sensory, the sounds, I guess we're starting with that.
Yeah.
Overhearing intimate moments.
Right.
This is a good thing.
It's a totally good thing. It's a wonderful thing because it reminds us that we're humans, and it connects us to our neighbors in a weird way. And I know that sounds crazy, but there's something about, that we are all here and we're all the same, and someone is having that private moment, and that could be, they could be, It could be breakup sex. It could be, the first time. There could be a baby could be conceived in that moment. Like there's all this stuff that could be happening right there. You know what I mean? And I think it's just the magic of being around other humans. And I think cities, when they're built well, they make the most of it rather than the worst of it, right? And this, for me, is a wonderful example of when it's the most of it. I love that. I even love hearing people argue, not if it's like, aggressive or dangerous or whatnot, but like there's something to it. You hear the sound of children laughing and you hear the sound of people having sex. That is wonderful.
I'm sitting here and listening to you and thinking, I'm going, I can remember almost every single time I heard strangers have sex in cities around the world. Yeah. I have a great clarity in this sensory memory I have. Right. But you said people arguing. Yeah. Like, of course, if it's violent and you're who do I, should I call somebody now?
Exactly.
Wait, a smashed plate? Okay, yeah, then our triggers are different. But, just the banality of some of the arguments. Like, really?
Yeah.
You bought the wrong pasta and you're at a point in your relationship where that happens to be a catalyst. Yeah. And you're going, oh my God, that is so banal, but I can relate to it.
And I can't stop listening.
And you can't know.
And this is the beauty of being a human being. We are coded by nature to listen and look at each other. So there's also that. So even if you didn't want to hear people having sex, you literally have to remove yourself because your brain is coded to listen to it.
Yeah.
And you're listening for clues about what's going on and you're trying to imagine what is going on. Is it good? Is it bad? It's like, that's your brain. We're wired that way. That's just biology, right? And I think, something that I also think we should talk about a little bit about is that we have some public or some cities that are so densely populated that you actually can also see it, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously the dystopian example is Hong Kong, where you're literally like 2.5 meters from each other.
Yeah.
But even in London, I have witnessed several times looking out the window, people like right next to me having sex, right?
I can almost map the neighbors in my building when they get like a new partner.
Right.
Because you kind of fuck like rabbits at the beginning, right? Oh, she's got a new boyfriend or he's got a new girlfriend, and then it goes quiet. They go, oh wait, I guess they broke up. Through the sounds of their intimacy, you map the lives of strangers, right?
And that's magical.
No, that's what we do.
That is magical.
I mean, reality shows are reality shows because of this, right? This is why they exist, because we want to share intimate moments with strangers, even if it's the stupidest shows on the planet, the Paradise Hotels and all that, right? But we eat it up.
Yeah.
I find it interesting if you are sitting in your apartment with a glass of wine, reading a book about the history of shoes, whatever.
The history of shoes, yes.
Your personal emotional situation or state kind of dictates your reaction to the fact that two people are having a passionate, love tryst that evening.
Yes.
So you could be just broken up and you're going, oh God, somebody's having.
Thank you for that.
That's going to depress.
To that shit right now in my life.
Or I am really horny right now and I haven't had sex for a while, and this is.
He looks like shit. He gets laid.
Yeah, right.
What is up with that? Why am I not?
Absolutely. So I mean, there's a 1,000 different reactions that we could have to it, which is also the human experience.
Same exact event.
Yeah.
It depends on where you are emotionally.
Oh yeah, think about the building on the other side of the street. All the different people listening to it. There's a dozen different reactions.
Exactly.
To it, yeah.
And isn't that magical? That's the core of human habitat to me. It's like we're all in it together, but whatever happens, we're going to perceive it differently. That's awesome.
There are societies that are more Puritan than others.
Yes.
We live in Europe, and we come from Scandinavia, where there's a lot more liberal approach to such things. You have societies that are very Puritan,
right?
But then in India, where they have very strict rules about you can't even hold hands in public if you're not married. All that. But then you still know people are having sex. So you live in a society, perhaps one that's really dominated by a religion.
Yeah.
And yet people are going to do what people do, and the contrast between I'm going to listen anyway, but I don't need to know that they're having, but they're okay. The complexities of these cultural norms that some countries might have, where for us, I think in a city like Barcelona, I find it a sexy city.
Yeah.
I would say maybe Stockholm, less so, and that's just me, and we can maybe talk about why that is, but there are
less so.
Frankfurt.
Basel.
Oh
less
my
so.
God, Frankfurt. No, I cannot even imagine Frankfurt being anything remotely
Utah, the entire state of Utah.
Utah.
Less so.
Oh, we talked about it last night, like when I first went to Salt Lake City thinking it's the heartland of the Mormons.
Yeah. Right.
And it's this wild west of LGBT goodness.
Right.
As a reaction to the religious dominance, right? Anyway, that's another thing. But
that's another podcast.
But farther down the list on the paper here, which is kind of related, there's no structure, but I have sensory stimuli that we wrote down, right?
Yeah.
Flowers, foods, reminds you that you have a body, smelling good foods, or walking past a flower shop, or a blossoming trees in the spring.
Correct.
Go.
And no, but it directly relates to the fact that we started with the audio, right? We started with you can say the audios, that we started with the audio component of living in a city, right? Like, I can hear my city. So there's so much to that. I mean, I think, even though we all agree that most of the sex we have as individuals happens in our brains, there is still that. You need that deep-rooted connection to your body when you are, in that state of mind. And then, so being reminded of the fact that we have, and having our senses activated, right, draws your attention towards your body, and you're saturated by whatever sensory stimulus you're on, like that happens around you. That can really heighten that, the whole sensory and the whole experience of, oh yeah, that's right, I do have a body. There's something outside of the endless emails that go into my inbox every day. God, I'm a human. Wow. Okay. Wait, what do I want then? Like, what do I need right now? I want to cuddle. Okay, great. Let's go cuddle. Like, that's the kind of thing, right? So I think having cities, like, imagine a city, well, actually, right now, we're in a car. We're on the freaking highway. I'm not very sensually stimulated right now. My senses are not stimulated right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just... So the opposite to that, or the counter to that, is, for instance, like last night, where we were walking down that street, and yeah, there were still trees in December that had flowers on them, right? And we were, you could smell also, there was that smell of winter in the air, you could smell the rotting leaves. And we had some of the restaurants were closing down. We had that faint smell of food still coming out from those kitchens.
We weren't hungry, we had eaten, but still, the sensory stimuli of, Thai. Yeah. I haven't had Thai for a while.
Right.
I like Thai, whatever. I mean, it reminds us, you said it, and I wrote it down, it reminds us that we have a body.
Yes.
It might have been Gonzalo who said that, actually, but whatever. One of us was saying it in our conversation, and I said, maybe there's this deep-rooted connection to nature that we maybe forget, that when this blossoms spring out in the springtime on the trees, that is fertility. And springtime is really probably the most erotic season, because we've been bundled up for all winter, and then all of a sudden we're bombarded with sunshine. And so maybe there's that if you have flowers in flowering trees in a city, that also adds some sort of level of eroticism without even knowing it.
Exactly.
Oh, it's springtime. The birds and the bees, all the animals are, the insects are having sex. Everybody's doing it. Oh, why am I not doing it?
And there's also something else to that, and that is something I remember we talked about, that the richness of details, right? Like a tree that flowers, there's the differences, the tiny color differences in the different flowers. There's the smell of it. There's, exactly, to say something humming. There's also just the color impact of that. So there's almost like this extra layer of details that your city is engulfed in, at that moment, right? And I think it's one of the things for me, particularly when you said to me, so, hey, Bianca, what's an erotic city to you? What's the erotic city to you? I was thinking, immediately my mind went to richness of details. I need details. I need a city where I can fall in love with every street I walk down. I need a city where whenever I walk down a new street, the sound of my footsteps are going to be different because the paving is different. I need to be surprised. I need to be delighted. I want to explore. I even want to be a little bit, not afraid, but just sort of like, hey, what's going on now? And then in other places, I want to just be perfectly comfortable without a care in the world. That to me is super sensual.
And architecture, this isn't even on the list, but architecture in a city like Barcelona, because that's where we are at the moment, but thinking about other cities, with rich, detailed architecture, like just the forms, rounded corners, and windows that stick out, and all of the different architectural aspects that predate the automobile, because we dumbed down our architecture after we invented the car, because we're driving so fast, there's nothing to look at. I remember reading that for every 30 meters you walk or ride a bike in a city, you register 60 details around you. When you're driving a car at 50 kilometers an hour down a road, you only have time to register 6 or 7 details.
Right.
So we dumbed down architecture because we didn't need to have the beautiful gargoyles, the sculptures, the form of the rock. We just have facade, sign, buy beer here.
And we call that rational, or we call it logic, but really it's just dumbing down, as you say.
Okay, so that was good.
Impoverishing our environment. Yeah.
I'm looking at the paper, it's long, so I'm not saying we have to speed it up, but maybe richness of detail. Yeah. Boom, that's that takeaway there.
Yeah.
Then I have here written down on the paper, private public mixes, blurred lines, the freedom to do it. I don't know what it was when we wrote it. It legitimizes it. And then I have pack animals, because you said pack animals.
We're pack animals.
And I think we kind of covered that, like we are just animals. If you hear somebody else having sex, or you overhear a conversation, you walk past a couple embraced in a late night kiss on the kissing street somewhere, it legitimizes it. Wow, they're doing that in public space. Now, the Americans, okay, we're gonna get back to the Americans, but they literally have that expression, PDA, public display of affection. Don't do that in public.
Right.
I don't know what voice that was. That was my weird American
voice. That was a Karen voice.
My Karen voice. So that is a weird thing when you come from Europe. You're going, wait, I can't kiss in public?
I know.
Like I can't just lean over and make out with my guy, my girl, and share that little moment, and then let's go get a coffee.
Exactly.
People are going, ew. There's a whole cultural thing there about Puritan societies, right? But you don't.
It's not just Puritan. Like, I think that is something that is really important for me to say here, is that it's not just around the sort of morality of it. It's also a conservative fear. You're disguising you can say, or the desensitization of society by that conservative fear, right? So you're calling it Puritan, but it's really not.
Okay.
It's not you saying it's Puritan, but like everybody's saying it's Puritan. It's really not. It's that fear of showing that you're human, and vulnerability and intimacy, because all of that makes us vulnerable, and all of that makes us human, and all of that makes us easy targets if you're living in a really hardcore society where you got to protect yourself emotionally, right? So I think there's that side of it too, where it's not about morality, but it's a way of protecting yourself or cocooning yourself by not displaying emotions. And that is very contrary to the European culture, I will say, because the European culture is very much about, if you're unhappy about, I don't know, the bill you got at a restaurant, you will say so, and you will, start it, like an Italian will start a fight about it, right?
Yeah.
And you will kiss someone if you want to kiss that person. So I think it's two different takes on what it is to live your life and be a person that walks around in public space.
Well, it's kind of the blurred lines that I have written down here as well, where the typology of cities for millennia, the typology of the cities we still live in Europe, public-private space, the lines are blurred. If you look at a car-centric society, I am in my car, this is my private space. I can see fragments of other humans in other cars, and I can give them the finger because they cut me off. But you're separated physically from other humans.
And so you don't care.
You're in your bubble.
Yeah.
Where you're walking down a pedestrian-friendly street in a European city, you're constantly surrounded by your fellow humans. You're elbow to elbow with them, whether you like it or not. Well, you kind of like it if you live in a city, right?
Yeah.
If you come from a little town and you come to the city for the weekend, you're going, oh my God, there's so many people here.
So overwhelming, yeah.
And in New York, it's like you're walking too slow. You got to walk like a New Yorker if you're going to walk. When I'm in New York, I'm going, yeah, that person's from Kansas. Like, speed it up, buddy. And I'm not even from New York. So like you have all those kind of things, but you're constantly exposed to other humans.
Yeah.
You're constantly, seeing somebody pick their nose,
Yeah.
laugh at a joke that the guy said, the girl said. You're always...
And then sometimes you laugh at that joke because it's like, that was a pretty funny joke, right? Or, the perfume she's wearing. God, that reminds me of my mother.
Yeah.
She wears that perfume. How weird is that? Oh, I should call her. It's all of that interaction. It's magical. Dude, I love that.
I noticed years ago when I started...
People,
yeah. Okay, you said perfume, right?
People.
Like, years ago, when I started thinking about bikes, coming from another world where I never thought about bikes, I just rode a bike every day.
Yeah.
I just noticed, in a way, the eroticism
Yeah.
of riding my bike in the morning rush hour with 80 billion other Copenhageners.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you just lock into a scent. And like maybe there's a human that I would find attractive in front of me.
Yeah.
And whoa, that's a really nice shampoo.
Right.
Or that, and that's fresh shampoo because
Yeah.
she just got out of bed and had a bath and is now going to work or education.
Yeah.
Or a perfume.
Yeah.
And I have literally, and I know that there's going to be a percentage of the listeners who are going to say, ew, that's creepy.
Yeah.
But this whole podcast episode,
creepy.
I will not overtake. I will fall into a line behind the scent.
Yeah.
And I will just, in the morning sunlight of the spring, I will inhale the scent of an apple shampoo or a nice perfume.
Yeah.
It could be a perfume I don't like, so I'm going to, blow on past, right?
Yeah.
And then sail along. And actually, I've looked it up. There's a word for this in the perfume industry. It's called sillage.
Sillage.
It's from sillage, which is the wake behind a boat.
Gotcha.
The wake of in the water. And the perfume phrase is the sillage. So if you put on a perfume, you should be able, it should linger behind you,
right,
so that other people will,
Yeah.
inhale it. So it's a beautiful word, actually. Anything French is beautiful. But so that is also in a way a sensory stimulus, right? Where somebody else's choice of shampoo, perfume, oh, that is really nice. I'm gonna linger in their scent for a while, and then she'll turn off or he'll turn off, and then we go on our separate ways, right? And it's an intimate moment between strangers. Only one of us knows that it happened, right?
Correct. It's an intimate, memorable moment.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Oh, it's
I think,
creepy.
no, it's not. But I think what's also really important here, that what you're talking about, that I kind of also want us to get at, is that in order for something to be truly, whether it's erotic or sensual or whatever we call it, you have to strike a very fine balance between feeling safe and taking chances or exploring or taking risks, right? And what you described right there is exactly that. There is no harassment, there's no sexual harassment in you smelling an apple perfume, right? If she knew, she might even be flattered, right? She doesn't know, so it's safe for you to do so. But at the same time, you also kind of know, because you're saying yourself it's kind of creepy. So there's that fine balance. And we actually talked about it in terms of sometimes, in Copenhagen, women like to flirt while they're on their bike, right? Because it's a safe space. Because if you find out, oh, I actually don't like the reaction I'm getting when I'm flirting with this person, you are on your bike, you go. You're gone. Yeah. You're safe, right? You're empowered. But at the same time, you have that opportunity to just show off a nice tan summer leg in your heel, right? So there's that perfect balance between safe and the ability to take a chance and risk. And I think that was something we discussed at the bar too. It's like there's something about when things are erotic or sensual, it's like that exploring, that curiosity, something that sparks your curiosity, something you want to explore, something you want to learn more about, or something you just want to try out, And in order to be in a space where you want to try something new, it has to be a safe space, right? So really getting that balance, for me, when the urban fabric allows for that balance, that just opens up for this whole wonderful, bucket of just human nature. And I love it.
Well, that conveniently, this is great because I'm going, wait, that's another point on our little
sorry.
piece of, no, don't be sorry. It's great because it leads into other stuff. It's like the structure's writing itself here.
Yeah.
Because I have here, constant exposure to people, public transport, bicycle-friendly cities, paying compliments, sexy.
Oh,
my shoes. I have my shoes, but so how we talked about when you live in a city where you're surrounded by people, pedestrian-friendly streets.
Yeah.
Bicycle-friendly cities with 100 people waiting for the light in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
You can pay compliments to people. So in a way, I could, and anybody could.
Yeah.
At the red light, going, "That's an awesome shampoo.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's really. I just smelled your shampoo, and if the moment's right to give that compliment,
flattering.
Yeah, it's flattering because compliments are sexy, and in a city where you're constantly impacted by visual stimuli, those shoes are awesome.
I know. And
where'd you get the shoes, dude? I mean, I've had guys say cool shoes.
Yeah.
And guys don't do it as much as women do, right?
No.
But it's you have the opportunity to give compliments, and that is part of a sexy city.
Totally part of a sexy city. And actually, so the one thing that I am gonna miss about the London tube, like with Corona and everything, no one goes in the tube anymore because it's like germ disaster down there. But the one thing I'm gonna miss is all the compliments I paid to people and all the compliments people paid to me on the tube. Every morning, I guarantee you at one point in my journey going to the office, there was some person who would be like, "Hey, nice shoes." I was like, "Hey, thanks." And I'm into my shoes, right?
Like your entire life is compliments about your shoes. It's like rapid fire compliments all day long because you have the most bizarre, beautiful collection of shoes. Yeah.
But it's like, that moment where you're like, yeah, I know they're good, but like having someone say that to me, and I've paid so many people compliments like, "I love your hair. You look awesome. That is a good style on you, man." And I just, that it's like a small little, it's a random act of kindness in a way.
There you go.
Because, someone could be having a really shit day. Like maybe they're going into work and they know they have to lay off one of their best people because the company's doing, cutting back or whatnot. And I pay that compliment, and just for those minutes, 2 minutes, or however that lasts, before the horror of the inbox creeps back into your brain.
Gotta get back to that spreadsheet. Oh,
Exactly.
wait, somebody, and
Exactly.
you're seen, right? Somebody looked at you, another human, one out of 7.9 billion, and said, "That little part of you is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like your choice there, right?"
Exactly right.
And then you can walk away, right?
And
it's kind of creepy if you hang out. Going, let's talk about your shoes, girl. Do you have any? What are your feet like? Okay, then,
and it gets creepy, right?
We're on the edge of creepy every single time, right? And it's important to say that we're not going there, but of course, human nature can walk into creepy.
And that's that fine balance between safety and risk taking.
Yeah. So I get compliments on my hair all the time.
You got great hair.
Thank you. Stop it. Say it again.
You got great hair, Michael. Oh yeah, you do.
and Gonzalo as well.
I know.
Like awesome
Great
mop
hair.
of hair.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's really in the past 5 or 6 years where I've always had the same thick hair.
Yeah.
Now it's super gray.
Yeah.
Silver fox and stuff. You get that compliment all the time. Oh, silver fox. Fine. Give it to me. Like, what do I want in my day is somebody to say awesome hair.
Yeah.
I know it's awesome. Like, I'm literally aware that my hair is awesome and I love my hair.
Yeah.
But of course I want to hear it as many times as possible.
Yeah.
And I have down here, you're the shoe queen of the planet. But I bought a pair of shoes recently just at Adidas, Stan Smith, white, but with pink accents, like pink in inside of it, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pink popping out of the shoes around my ankles.
Yeah.
And I've been just getting compliments on those shoes from women.
Yeah.
And some men, actually, to be honest, in Copenhagen. Oh, right, cool shoes. Like 53-year-old silver fox dude.
Yeah.
But those shoes, really? Like, I love that. And I bought them because I thought they were cool.
Yeah.
Like, a guy like me wearing pink shoes, I'm not trying to make any massive statement. I bought them because I like them. But I'm getting compliments on those shoes,
And
that's my minor Bianca moment here. Somebody liked my shoes.
And that's the point about when a city, when your city that you live in enables you to get that compliment. Because if we were in a different city, if you were living in a different city, maybe a city where you don't talk to people on the street because of safety issues, or in a car-centric city where you never see people's feet because you're in cars, you wouldn't get that compliment. So literally, the built environment around you either enables that situations or hinders it.
I was working a lot in Russia a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I've lived in Russia back in the day. I'm pretty familiar with their culture.
I like your shoes.
No, actually, the opposite.
You have great shoes, Michael.
The opposite, actually.
Oh.
It was springtime.
Yeah.
And in Northern Europe, and I think most of Europe, it's warm, you wear shorts.
Yeah.
A nice pair of shorts that work for your business purposes.
Yeah.
And like the mayor of the city we were working in, after 3 days, he's going, so why shorts every day, Michael? Shorts, why this shorts thing? And then I went, and he was kind of like, it's weird, dude.
Yeah.
And then I started looking around, I'm going, I am the only man in Russia wearing shorts. Like, apart from small children. So I realized, whoa, there's a weird thing, and they don't see grown men wearing shorts going to business meetings.
Your legs were out.
Didn't even see that coming, right? So, and a lot of men would, like, on the street be going, what men wear shorts? Weird. Must be from West, but weird to wear shorts.
Is he tall boy?
Tall, yeah, grown boy. Boy man. What is boy man doing in Russia with shorts? Don't understand this culture. And then they realize you're from the West, and they're going, okay, the West is just weird for us, But so it's kind of like it wasn't a compliment. It was like, why are you doing that? Because we find that to be weird, dude. But yeah, so don't wear shorts to business meetings in Russia was your pro tip there. All right, I'm going to refer to, it's really weird sitting in a car and like not knowing where you're going.
I know.
I don't spend a lot of time in cars. I like less than 5 hours of my life per year is in a car. And this car's taking us somewhere.
I know.
And we feel safe because Gonzalo's taking us there, but
it's okay.
It's super weird, yeah. So we talk about on this list of paper, well, we have public space a lot, outdoor seating.
Yeah.
This is looking at the pandemic and the reaction of cities to the pandemic, this is the only universal takeaway from the pandemic around the world. Some cities did temporary bike lanes, many didn't. Some cities did this and that, others didn't. Everybody made space for outdoor seating as a response to the pandemic.
Yeah.
The cool cities are going to keep it, of course,
obviously.
Right? Barcelona and Copenhagen, loads of parking spots taken and tables out there to enjoy. Yeah. But a city with good public seating, where you can sit and do what we are supposed to do in cities, people watch.
Exactly.
That has absolutely an element of sensuality, intimacy, erotica, because maybe you're not sitting there looking to score, but nice legs on that guy. Look at his biceps in that tight t-shirt. Oh, she's got that's a great outfit she's wearing. It really shows off her form, whatever.
Right.
Whatever form you like, whatever human you like, right? You're constantly bombarded by it. And you have the opportunity to sit down and just look at it for an hour.
Enjoy it, I know. And I think, another thing for me that really, when we talk about the erotic city or the sensual city, is the porosity of the facade. Like for me, openings in the facade, between that, what is, quintessential, the public space, which is like the street, and then the home of someone, whether it's, like laundry. We talked about laundry, how we both love when laundry's hanging out. You can actually see people's undies like out on the street. That's amazing, right? But also just openings into people's windows. You can hear what music they're listening to on their Spotify playlist. Sometimes if people live like at street level, the doors will be open. Like this is my favorite part about Dutch culture, is how much they open their doors. And just in the summer, the doors are just open. You can look straight into people's homes. And you can, if she's making pancakes or waffles in there, you can smell that. And I love that. That to me is very sensual, like that, how the thing that separates public space and private space is a layer of bricks.
Yeah.
Just that small layer of bricks, right? And these openings where I get a chance to sort of peep into their private lives.
And they know you're doing it. Their door's open. They know that somebody's going to turn their head and look down the hallway and see them making pancakes in their kitchen in the back.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
We all agree, consensual adults agree, this is what we're doing right now.
And you also have the opportunity to close the door if you don't want that. Yeah. So that freedom, the blurred line again.
The blurred line, yeah.
All right, I'm looking at the list here. Well, I think it's a quick one, but humor I wrote, because I remember you said it. humor, makes me laugh. And we said it in a way, you overhear somebody saying a funny joke or a dry remark, and you, Jesus, that was funny, dude, and you keep walking, right? And then you're happy for for a while, and you remember the joke like the next day. I heard this dude say that it's the overheard in
it's
New York thing, right?
And again, my favorite of all the overheard in was this woman who told her kid, honey, put your mask on. We don't want people thinking we're Republicans.
In New York, right?
Yeah. I love that one. I'm like, that is awesome. It's like the internet in live person, like in city, it's like the internet in a city. But I think one of the things that we've kind of been circling around, Michael, that we haven't really tackled yet, and I want to get there.
Uh-oh.
It's nudity. Nudity in public, man.
It's on the list, as you would expect it with you and me.
No.
It's near the end. Because that was like 3 cocktails in, and then we went nude. So I remember asking you, living in Copenhagen or in a Danish city, have you seen naked people?
Right.
Like in Friends, right?
Yeah.
The famous character you've never seen is the naked guy,
the
right?
Naked guy, yeah.
And it's like, oh, what's he doing now? And that's a funny part of the series. I've lost track of how many naked people I've seen just standing in my window talking on the phone, and there's a dude changing, he just got home from the gym, there's a girl getting dressed to go out at night. You see naked people all the time in Copenhagen and other cities like it, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I think what's
you too, right? You see naked people?
No, I see naked people all the time. And again, being raised in an egalitarian society, being raised in a safe society where body confidence is something you gain based on your achievements and not how it necessarily looks, that is perfectly natural, right? And I kind of, again, like it because it reminds me I have a body. When I see someone else's body, it reminds me I have a body too.
Yeah.
That's and that's again the human nature of it. So it's less, the sort of the studs on the beach here in Barcelona, like showing off the stuff. I'm like, oh, dude, that is so socialized. Like right now, that is not, you're not being natural right now. This is a cultural display of whatever it is you're trying to.
But it's just the animal kingdom. They're posing. Their feathers are all bright and colored, and they're standing there going, look at me. Like, it's kind of maybe primitive, but I mean, it's
kind of primitive, right? Where what I enjoy much more is what you're saying, like that person that's changing their clothes in the bedroom, and they don't, necessarily pay attention to the fact that people can see it, or maybe they do, and they decided as from principle, I don't care. I'm okay with that, So that kind of like that everydayness of just having a body and being naked because we live in densely populated areas, I think that's awesome. So that kind of nudity is, for me, feels natural and it feels good, and it's kind of sensual, right?
Now there are things that are universal and transferable about living in cities where you're going to come across intimate moments around every corner. And I think some of these cultural things are maybe not transferable, because I know people get freaked out when I tell them about in Denmark. Since the 70s, the very liberal 70s, it's been legal to be naked in public in Denmark.
Yeah.
It's literally written down in the laws. You can be naked on any beach in Denmark. Less people do it now, but if you're sitting there on a crowded Saturday beach, lots of families with kids, and one woman, one man just strips off and goes swimming, people are going to go, huh? Naked dude.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Don't see that much. No, whatever. But nobody's going to react.
No.
Now,
even in Copenhagen Harbor, you got people jumping in naked.
You see people in the summer when people are bathing and swimming a lot. Yeah. I mean, I do it all the time as well. We got 100,000 winter bathers.
Yeah.
Members of clubs in Denmark,
but
and then
naked.
You have all the and when you're in a winter bathing club, it's part of the deal. You're naked. So, but it's still wild for people.
Yeah.
Technically, I can be naked on any street in Denmark. If somebody calls and the police come, they're going to go, dude, really? They can make the judgment call.
Yeah.
I don't think this is an appropriate place for you to be naked. Can you please put on some clothes? You won't get arrested unless you protest or whatever.
No.
But yeah, people, dude, like maybe not here on the busy pedestrian street on a Saturday afternoon. Don't see the point of you being naked here. Okay. Go somewhere else, into a park.
But if you have a legit reason, let's say you were demonstrating against fashion industry or whatnot, if you have a legit reason, they cannot arrest you for it.
Okay, wait, that's really interesting. I had a friend years ago, I'm talking 25 years ago, they were protesting some political thing.
Yeah.
And they all stripped off their clothes on one end of the walking street in Copenhagen, walked up to City Hall Square.
Yeah.
The police came.
Yeah.
They said, really? We're protesting and this is da-da. And the police are going, oh, where are you going? City Hall Square. Okay, you're going to put on your clothes when you're done? Yep. All right, off you go.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, fine,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But Corona,
Yeah.
lockdowns, weird things happened, I think, for everybody.
Yep.
I was we're still in nude land here.
Yeah.
I'm drinking. I had a girlfriend last summer. I was out with a really good friend and his girlfriend, and there was another female friend there. And we're drinking, and I'm saying, hey, we're going to go skinny dipping when we're done, right?
Yeah.
Because it's summer, it's sultry, it was 25 degrees. I remember, we do it all the time.
And again, remember, you've been cooped up all winter in Scandinavia, so when summer comes, everybody gets a little bit insane.
Yeah.
Insane in the good way, but everybody's like all fired up on sunlight, right?
If I don't skinny dip at least once in the Copenhagen harbor every year, I have failed as a Copenhagen.
Yes, exactly.
But we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And then I had just been interviewed for an article where I mentioned, what would you export to the world from Copenhagen? It was a Danish magazine. Yeah. And I said, freedom. Right. The freedom to be yourself, the freedom to be naked in public. And I had all this. And I read it aloud to my friends. And then my friend said, okay, we're going to go skinny dipping, but why don't we just be naked somewhere in public?
Yeah.
So we had a couple of bottles of wine, and we developed this whole thing. I said, okay, let's do it. And I love Søren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher.
Yes.
And I said, let's go and let's be naked in front of him, because I know from his journals that when he was sad, he would sit naked in his apartment and speak foreign tongues. This was his way of dealing with being depressed. And I said, let's go to his statue and speak foreign tongues to Søren Kierkegaard, because I love the man. And so we did, but we couldn't get in.
Right.
And it was right by the Danish parliament. I said, great, everybody, let's ride our bikes out to his grave and do it there. Graveyards are open all night in Denmark.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, he said, hey, man, we're standing in front of the seat of Danish democracy, the Danish parliament.
Yeah.
If we're allowed to be naked anywhere, it's here.
Right.
And we're all going, we're all a bit tipsy. And we go, this is the greatest idea.
A little bit tipsy.
So what do? We stripped off.
Yes.
And it's a closed space. You can ride your bike or walk past it. There's no cars. And it was late night, 2 a.m, summer. And we just stood there naked. And one girl, my girlfriend's friend, she said, I heard that if you have your shoes on but you're naked, you feel more naked. We're going, awesome, we did that. So we're butt naked.
You have looked fantastic with your shoes on in front of Parliament.
I have photos. We took loads of photos. And we're standing there drinking wine and just enjoying the nudity, and people are riding their bikes past, ringing their bells, going, what are you people doing? It looks awesome. And we're saying, you want to join us? No, thanks. But we had conversations with people, and we did it. And no helicopters with Secret Service police came down to lock us up.
You can't be naked in front of Parliament.
Yeah, but in Denmark you could.
You could.
And
why is that? Why is that that you can be naked in Denmark?
I mean, I think it was just, it all comes from also the German movement, the FKK, the free body culture from the 20s and 30s. We also adopted that in Denmark, but and there are many parks in Berlin you can be naked. This is not just only Denmark, but whatever. We just exercised our right to be nude in public. And we were there for 40 minutes, and then the huge door of the parliament opens. Yeah. And a little man came out, an older gentleman, maybe 60, and he was the night watchman of the parliament. Yeah. And we're a terrorism target, Denmark. So we all go, there's probably cameras in super 8K, And we all knew that, but that's part of the game. And he comes out and he says 3 things, which I find so beautiful. He said, hey, that looks like fun, what you're doing there. That was the first thing. He legitimized our behavior.
Yes.
He recognized, maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe I did it when I was young. You guys are doing that thing you're doing.
It looks fun.
Good. Number 2. But you're getting too close to the building. When you get too close to the building, the alarms go off inside. So he said, you're kind of messing with my shift. Yeah. And in our culture, we're going,
I was watching Netflix, and you're kind of making me have to come out here.
Yeah, or he's reading the paper, and the alarms are going, weep, weep, weep. And so we realized he was the gatekeeper.
Right.
He could have hit that big red button, and the Secret Service police and the police would descend upon us. Yeah. He made the call. This is not a terrorism issue here. Right. This is just drunk people on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Boom. He warned us.
Yeah.
No, sorry. He said, you're kind of messing with my work. I'm kind of a little bit tired of it. I gave you 40 minutes. Are we done now?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my God, dude, so sorry. Yeah. Third thing, and by the way, there's cameras all over this place, so have a good night. And he disappeared. So he warned us. Yeah. It was so nice. So he represented Danish culture in those 3 things he said. And we said, right, we're kind of done now anyway. Yeah. And we don't want to mess with his job. So we all got dressed and went home on a high, right?
Yeah.
So wow, that was a long explanation about nudity. I mean, that's an erotic city.
That's totally erotic
That's
to me.
intimate. We're sharing an intimate moment with strangers, whether they like it or not.
And for me, that's really, that's erotic. And that's where the conversation we're having right now moves from being like peeping Tom, creepy, to becoming about, again, human nature and people being human. And then you tie that in with the whole like political thing about your freedom, and that guy being nice to you. I mean, this for me that is Erotic City.
Now, we mentioned the spring, and we mentioned, when you're in the Danish winter, and there's very little light, the sun sets at 3:30 in the afternoon, it gets up, up in the morning at 8.
10 sometimes.
Oh. In the spring, you're all of a sudden bombarded with light.
Yes.
And we measure light in something called lux,
yes,
the unit. And all of a sudden, from 400 lux on a winter's day, we get 10,000 in April.
Makes us crazy.
Makes us happy, makes us horny.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at each other on the streets.
Oxytocin all over the place.
Oh, yeah. So, that is a major thing we know in the Nordic countries.
Yes.
Dostoevsky's written about it in some of his books. It's a thing we know in the North. But generally, I have also written down here weather.
Yeah.
I find, I said it before, Barcelona
Yeah.
is a sexy city.
Yeah.
We both agreed instantly Frankfurt is not, for many other reasons. But so can you?
Anyone
you have
listening from Frankfurt?
Sorry, not sorry.
Feel free to challenge us. But this is our perception right now, and we would love to be challenged.
No more disclaimers. All right. Because Frankfurt's not a sexy city. But we live in the north.
Yes.
We're bundled up for months, and then we explode in a sensory orgy in the spring and summer.
Yes.
But a Latin city where the weather is always good.
Right.
Mexico City is,
right.
if I find that to be an erotic city
Yeah.
as well. I mean, but you can still have an erotic city in the north, right?
Yeah, and I think you mentioned also like Russia, because I was a little bit like, honestly, I don't feel super sexy in the wintertime when I'm all bundled up and it's cold, and like sometimes when you go even further north than Copenhagen, you're looking at -20, -25. That's not necessarily something that sort of brings out that in me, But then you were saying,
in, but then you walk into a cafe or a bar,
yeah,
and you take off that outer layer,
right.
and you're going, oh, you're blinged up for
right.
Saturday night. Then it's the moment of reveal,
right,
So we have, I think it's still there. It's just sort of more bundled up, and then we reveal.
Yeah.
Where if you're walking around with 25 degrees every single day, you're always kind of wearing clothes where you expose your body,
You can feel the breeze on your legs.
Yeah,
and whatnot. One thing we, again, maybe conveniently, because we're in a car, forgot to talk about, but I think it's really important, especially with the American listeners.
We went off the motorway. We're on narrow mountain road, so I'm staring out the window now so I don't throw up, just so you know. That's why I'm not looking at you. Yeah.
No, we're going to the mountains, so we're climbing up the mountains right now.
Sorry.
But one thing, we conveniently left out, because we're in a car, is what do you do? I mean, it's not like if you live in a car-centric city, you can't feel sexy or that can't be erotic, right? So we talked about the American phenomena of people losing their virginity in a car, or actually people carrying out the majority of their young life in terms of exploring sexuality and passion and having boyfriends and girlfriends and whatever in between, how that translates to actually living out your intimate erotic life in a car.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anywhere else to do it. Let's say you come from a Catholic home, you can't do it at home. Your partner doesn't live alone. Your partner, they also live with their parents or whatnot. The only place left to do that, and you don't have a beach nearby or a forest where you would want to do it, and there's ants, and there's lots of things. So you do it in the car. And that was like, and then all of a sudden, what happens then is that the car becomes sexy. And we were both like, it's kind of weird, because we both have a really love-hate, mainly hate relationship with cars.
But when we talked about it, my first question was, have you ever fucked in a car?
Yeah.
And you said?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
I grew up, being Danish, but growing up in North America.
This is our valley.
Oh, here we're getting into the mountains now.
This is our valley.
Awesome.
Do you see it?
Yeah. So beautiful. But I grew up in North America.
Yeah.
And yeah, statistically, many young people have sex for the first time in cars because it's not legitimized at their parents' house.
Yeah.
Where most kids in Denmark actually have sex statistically in their own bed or the bed of the other person, right?
Right.
Because it's legitimized. You're going to have sex anyway. Do it in a safe space home.
Let's just again refer to Markus Heunicke, the Minister of Health, where he's saying during COVID, where a reporter asked him, but what about sex, Marcus? And he was like, well, obviously the Danish Board of Health, or Minister of Health, we are pro-sex. We recommend having sex. Sex is a healthy activity, so we're just saying be careful. There's COVID out there.
But have sex. Basically, the Minister of Health for Denmark said, keep on keeping on.
we recommend having sex. Yes.
But perhaps a Europeans watching all of these American films where the kids go out, onto the viewpoint above the city and they make out in the car and they have sex in a car. Yeah. It must be really weird for Europeans, that cultural difference. Yeah. Where why don't you just do that in your own damn bed,
exactly.
right? With your parents in the next room because they know you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. So yeah, it is. But then cars become
sexy.
Yeah.
Don't they?
And I think in a car-centric society, cars are already sexy because that's your only thing you got, right? That's your only transport form. So
and
you
it's fetishize
cars.
Space, and it's your private space.
Yeah.
There's an intimacy in cars too. Like right now, you and I, we're actually sitting in the back seat.
Yep.
And Gonzalo, he is playing our driver right now.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of intimate. We're sitting here.
Yeah.
So I get it. I just don't really get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it's not. That's the car-centric. It's on the list here with this topic as well. But also a car-centric society.
Yeah.
Where your whole life is spent in a car.
Yeah.
You go to a shopping mall.
Right.
Which is a shared space, like a public private space. You go home. There's not a lot of places to go. So the car, it takes you're in a car for a lot of your time.
Yeah.
So isn't like 40% of Americans eat meals in cars? Like it becomes your living room. It becomes your everything. And this is absolutely not good for anthropology, the development of the species, urbanism, transport, anything. Right? No. It's not a good thing. I'm just going to say that.
Societal cohesion, even, it's not good for anything.
And if you live there, that's your reality. So respect for that. But still, this is not something we want.
Yeah.
And then modernism, the evolution of the suburbs and Le Corbusier. I think maybe some of his chairs could be erotic in their design.
Right.
Other designers are maybe more erotic, but Corbusier, with his plans for the future of cities, there was not a lot of eroticism in car-centric design.
Nope. That was, and again, conservative fear disguised as rationale, right? That was just, that this is the Messiah.
We're here.
We're here.
Okay, we've arrived at sorry. I'm not going to throw up, but I'm not going to.
This just really demonstrates how little you drive in cars.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm a really bad car passenger person. Do we want to wrap it up? Do you think we can wrap it up now?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right. Okay, now we've arrived.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, this podcast, because there's a back end to this, right? There's bookends. Yeah. We got in the car, started talking, we've arrived at your Messiah, and we got to see that. So
right.
I think we covered, looking at the paper list here, we really kind of covered a lot of things.
Can I sum up? Or are you summing up?
Well, there's one thing here, though. The overkill of choices kills eroticism. I don't even remember what we were talking about there. No. If you live, that was Gonzalo actually, but I'm mentioning that. We were talking about it, like, if there's too many choices, if there's too many things, then it kind of it distracts you and it takes away the focus on what you want to focus on. I don't really know where we were going with that. It's kind of the only, not negative, but a question mark about all of this. Everything else we're going, oh my God, it's whole, cities should be erotic, but
I mean, it's true. Okay, so let me give you an example. Blackpool in the UK.
Okay, Jesus.
Blackpool in the UK. It's like a British version of Las Vegas, only worse, right?
Yeah.
That is not sexy to me. There's all the stores are playing super loud music. There's like flashing signs in my face all the time. People are like, pumped up on pints and Coke and, fake tans and whatnot. And the whole thing is just on steroids. And that to me is just not sexy. I get overwhelmed and my senses start to shut down because there's so much going on.
Yeah, sensory overload, right?
Sensory overload. And I was just like,
loud music as you walk past a pub.
Geez,
you didn't want to hear that music. It's blaring.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, then I thought, we're talking about erotic cities, but then Brighton, for a very long time, was famous as the place to go for a dirty weekend.
Yeah.
Right? You take the train down from London.
Still is.
So it still is. So Brighton is kind of branding itself on this is where you go to have illicit sex in hotel rooms with people who you might not be married to or whatever, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of fun I just realized, wow, there must be more cities as well where they're famous. Well, Vegas probably.
Obviously.
You go to Vegas for many reasons, and I think
what happens in Vegas stays in
absolutely,
Vegas.
Or in Brighton as well.
What happens in Blackpool stays in
That was just in a way of fun. Yeah, what happens in Blackpool probably gets you arrested. It's illegal in several jurisdictions around the world. But that's interesting to think that some cities are actually designed or evolved to be an erotic city, a place where you go to live out your erotic and intimacy and everything, right? So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So you have your Latin cities where everybody's just constantly, there's a whole layer of erotica and sensuality. Yeah. Nordic cities where it emerges in seasons
in summer,
or inside, not outside. So I think, I don't know what we did for the future of urbanist thinking by recording this podcast, but I think we tackled a topic that nobody talks about.
Nobody talks about. And can I just sum up in terms of like, okay, what makes a city erotic or sensual? Richness of detail, that we know. For me, also again, the porosity of facades, like that, being able to peek into a private sphere in public.
Blurred lines,
yeah. And we talked about private moments being shared in public, whether it's someone arguing, crying, laughing, kissing, hugging, stuff like that, and random acts of kindness. Mm-hmm. I think that was also something that we talked about, right? And then obviously the sensory stimuli.
I mean, and compliments, which is random acts of kindness, but that can lead to flirting.
Yeah.
The opportunity to flirt because you're elbow to elbow with lots of humans. You have more of an opportunity to see people that you find attractive and to interact with them with a cute urban flirt.
Yeah.
Eyes across the room in a bar, the classic, right? I mean, or eyes across the square.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
And I think in a world where, obviously it's a good thing for overpopulation, but in a world, and especially in the West, where birth rates are down, let's try to make more erotic cities.
All right. And now we're in the complete opposite of an erotic city. We're in the mountains of Catalonia.
The erotic mountains. How about that?
All right.
Okay.
But as always, awesome to talk to you about crazy shit, girl. Yeah. So that was cool. Let's go visit the farm.
Okay.
High five. I'm so horny right now. I'm just kidding.
That should be the start. Before the intro music. I'm so horny right now. And then the intro music.
That wraps up another episode of the Coolville Urbanism Podcast. I'm your host, Mikael Colville-Andersen. Thanks for listening. And remember, it's your city. Take it back.